just a little bit so we can get. I think you're here to see. There's a woman here.
troublemakers! Welcome to the 2022 Labor Notes Conference. I'm Alexandra Bradbury, editor of Labor Notes magazine, and I am so happy to welcome you here. It's the first conference of the Roaring '20s. So let's get a sense of who we got in the room. Do we have any teachers in the room tonight? How about Teamsters? Any Teamsters here? How about Starbucks and Amazon workers? Are there any union stewards here? Anyone who's been on strike in the last year or two? Woo! Anyone who helped form a union in your workplace? And is there anyone here who's at your very first Labor Notes conference ever? Look at that. That is amazing. It is my great honor to introduce you to truly an incredible lineup of speakers tonight. It is 100% working class heroes up here to the left and right of me. Introducing them is the easy part. I have outsourced the tough part of the job to my coworker Courtney, who has to cut them off if they talk too long. But many of tonight's speakers are addressing Labor Notes for the first time. One of them is here for the first time since 1993, when he had a little bit more hair. And at that time, it was a much smaller crowd. This is far and away the biggest Labor Notes conference we have ever had. And it's interesting. It is a very hopeful time for the labor movement at the same time that things around us are very bad, right? We are in many ways living through a very hard time. And yet the outlook for working people is hopeful and full of an excitement that we haven't seen in quite a long time. The terrain has shifted, right? And there's a new spirit of resistance, and we all feel it. And it's part of what is making us so excited in this room together. Since we last gathered as Labor Notes 4 years ago, a lot of horrible things have happened. A lot of workers got called essential and found out that what that meant is your job is essential and your life is not essential. A lot of our workloads intensified. A lot of us lost our jobs. A lot of us are feeling the heightened climate pressures that mean we are working outside in wildfires and choking heat, and our planes are grounded. A lot of people experienced that on the way here. And yet this labor shortage, so-called, gave us all a dose of leverage and of courage and has prompted a rash of strikes we saw last year. At Amazon and at Starbucks, workers have scored electrifying wins in union drives that seemed impossible, didn't they? And in both the Teamsters and the auto workers, union reformers have notched landmark wins, achievements whose effects will unfold over years to come. So there's a lot to celebrate, and there's a hope in the air. And that is what has brought a boggling 4,000 of you to Chicago this year. We're here to learn from each other. We're here to teach each other. We're here to talk strategy, to gain skills, and to get the hope and the inspiration that is going to keep us going for the fights that we need to change the world. And that's what you're going to hear about from all these folks around me tonight. But first, a few announcements. If you are staying at this hotel or in any other hotel, Unite Here suggests that you ask for daily housekeeping and leave a tip of $5 a day. And the reason why is that hotel companies, although their profits are up, they are still using the pandemic as an excuse to squeeze workers by eliminating daily room cleaning. If they got away with it, this could eliminate about 39% of the jobs in the housekeeping industry. And I think we can all identify with employers who are using the pandemic as a pretext for something that they wanted anyway. Masks. We all want to do everything we can this weekend to keep each other safe from COVID, and I am so glad to see everybody wearing your mask and taking care of each other. This is a huge gathering. There are people from all over the world. Many of us are or work with or live with elderly people, very young people, medically vulnerable people. We want to take care of one another. We have extra masks if you need them. If you start to feel sick, stay in your room and take a COVID test. There's some more information in your program if you should need it. One more thing on masks. Have you noticed they make it very hard to recognize even people that you have known for years? So do your fellow worker a favor, please, and introduce yourself by name. Thank you. Don't make it awkward. A couple more things. We all understand that harassment of any kind is unacceptable. We are union siblings here. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to be respectful. If you have any problems of any kind in the conference, there's a section in your program called Respect. Check it out. Talk to any staffer. We're the ones with the yellow badges. And if you have any kind of problem, talk to any staffer. We're the ones with the yellow badges. The people, thank you. The people with the hardest job tonight, though, are not anybody on stage. They are the interpreters who are translating what we say simultaneously into 3 languages. We're going to hear a quick announcement from one of them, Johanna Parker, about how we can make their job a little easier.
Thank you. Si necesitan interpretación al español, el equipo está en la entrada. Please remember that. Please remember to speak loudly, especially when there is no microphone, at a generally even pace, and that will help us do the best possible job to make sure that everyone here is hearing all of the valuable information and able to contribute to their fullest. We've got interpreters here for many languages, and we're able to make labor notes really fully accessible to all. Thanks.
If you are here in a press capacity, if you are reporting, and you have not yet received a press pass, please go to the registration table and we will get you a press pass and ground rules. And finally, tomorrow night, the fundraising dinner on Saturday night is a separate ticket, and those are all sold out. If you have a ticket to the fundraising dinner, you know it because it says a little B in the corner of your badge, and that is your ticket to the dinner. If you think you had a ticket and you don't see a B on your badge, go to registration, we'll figure it out. And if you're not coming to the dinner, don't worry. There's other great stuff happening, including a concert put on by the Great Labor Arts Exchange, who are partnering with us this year at 8 p.m. that night. So, let me introduce our first speaker. Last month, social studies teacher Stacy Davis Gates was elected president of the Chicago Teachers Union. This is the second time we've had a Chicago Teachers Union president welcome you all to Chicago because, frankly, it's one of Labor Note's favorite unions. In fact, we wrote a book about it. Looking back, in 2008, a scrappy bunch of rank-and-file teachers decided they would start doing what their stick-in-the-mud union should have been doing, which was fighting school closings. The members noticed and elected that caucus called CORE to lead the local. Two years later, they went on strike and kicked Mayor Rahm Emanuel's ass. And in 2019, they did it again with a different mayor. With a different mayor, but with the same dedication to fighting for the schools that children deserve. Stacy helped lead that 15-day 2019 strike, and they won smaller class sizes, a nurse and social worker in every school, sanctuary protections for immigrant families, and support for homeless students. Here to welcome us to Chicago, Stacy Davis Gates.
Dude, I'm taking in all of this love. Because them tweets and those letters, woo, thank you. We all need a hug, don't we? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, and I love y'all. I want to welcome you to the greatest city on earth. Even with every flaw, there is no place I would rather fight for justice and equity. Welcome here to Chi-Town. The next time we got to get y'all on the south side, though, with a little flavor. That's what we have to do. Listen up, Labor Notes. It is absolutely beautiful to see each and every one of you here, and not because of the fellowship alone, but because everyone in here intends to do something when they get back to their home. You intend... You all didn't hear what I think you should be intending to do, though. You intend to go back home and transform. I need for you to know that labor is a few things. Labor is plural. We speak in we and us. Labor is action because it doesn't mean anything until you do a thing. And labor is transformative. We change all things. And the only way we change all things is if we understand the origin of power. The origin of power is in the purpose of what we do in our labor union. And in the labor world today, 2022, labor has got to be redefined to include the worker from sun up to sun down. It has got to include the workers 365, 7 day a week, 24-hour a day life. Workers suffer from police brutality. Workers have their children's schools closed down. Workers are facing eviction because housing is unaffordable. Workers are suffering under unfair immigration policies. Workers are dying because we refuse to include they instead of he or him or she or her. Workers are everyone who needs an advocate. And our labor, what we must do is add the and. You can fight for a wage and a benefit while fighting for women's reproductive rights. You can fight for sick days at the same time you fight for affordable housing. And membership means that you are a human being in need of working class love, solidarity, and unity. We don't narrow how people get in. We expand the definition of union. We expand the definition of membership. We expand the definition of workers' rights to human rights. The only people who can do this, because they are funded, because they are organized, because they are clear about what the wins entail, are workers. So workers, I'm going to need us to be bold and transformative and redefining and transforming the spaces in which we occupy, because we are workers and we are mothers. We are workers and we are daughters. We are workers and we are sisters. We are workers and. We have a duty to save this country from itself. So let us leave here. Let us leave here with the love and the motivation to rescue our union siblings and. Thank you.
Nolan Tabb struck John Deere for 5 weeks last fall, along with, along with 10,000 of his fellow members. They had to vote down 2 lousy tentative agreements negotiated by their international before they got one they wanted. Nolan is a rank-and-file member of United Auto Workers Local 281 in Davenport, Iowa, and he just got elected delegate to the UAW convention on the platform of Unite All Workers for Democracy, UAWD. And his election to that role is a testament to the kind of unusual leadership that he showed during the strike. Nolan Tabb.
Good evening. Good evening. Is this amazing or what? So let me just start with a little bit of my unextraordinary background. As she mentioned, I'm a 12-year rank-and-file member. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I'm not a professional speaker. There, how about that? Again, good evening. Just a real quick recap. I am one of 10,000 UAW brothers and sisters that make up John Deere. And collectively, we represent 11 different locals across 5 states. Most notably, we stood in solidarity next to one another and struck one of Forbes' top 100 companies, and we won. It was truly Striketober for us. After 5 weeks, multiple injunctions filed against us by the company, some of which cited heinous acts like waving signs aggressively. 3 tentative agreements. We came out standing on the other side with a labor contract that is absolutely one for the record books. It included a 10% wage increase up front, an additional 10% over the life of the contract, 3% lump sum bonuses every other year, reinstated COLA with quarterly evaluations, protected pensions for all current and future employees. And we did that while retaining our employer-funded health care. Also included was some additional time off that affords us more freedom to use as we choose, not as company-imposed shutdowns. Oh, and at the same time, we were also participating with UAW's successful election of the first UAW's, one member, one vote referendum. It truly is still very surreal to look back on all of this, but what I really want to talk to you all about tonight was what was going on during our strike on the ground and what we've been doing since. In the first days of our strike, public support was enormous. The media coverage was everywhere. One local newspaper circulated a particular photo that really captured the moment. It was a dense group of picketers making our feelings known to a semi-driver who was crossing our line to deliver steel. Now, it wasn't exactly how the company had characterized us as burned out cars and mobs of strikers looting, but it was a powerful image nonetheless. I happened to be front and center of the image that was making its rounds, all 5'2", 140 pounds of me. Anyway, some members came to me about a Gofundme that was discovered through social media. It was said to be set up on our behalf through John Deere Strikers, and it also used that image. So naturally, people assumed I was involved, but I had no idea what it was or who'd started it. Everyone wanted to know, was it legit? Was it fraud? Who gets to keep all the money, and do we have to pay taxes on it? The information available online showed that it was a group whose acronym went by UAWD. At that time, I thought it stood for UAW Deere. I reached out to the contact list, and it turns out it wasn't fraud, and it didn't stand for UAW Deere. It stands for Unite All Workers for Democracy. I was in contact with a soft-spoken woman who explained that she was a former UAW member turned labor organizer from Boston who was following our strike. She went on to explain that she worked for a grassroots labor movement known as Unite All Workers for Democracy, and that they had started a GoFundMe with the intention of just raising enough money to load a passenger van full of water, come down and take a picture, show some solidarity, and go home. But that GoFundMe instantly exploded to something like $50,000 in the first 36 hours. She admitted that it caught some of them off guard, and so what they did was they paused the donations just long enough to make some contacts at all of our different locals and bring on support. She brought on additional resources. She brought on additional resources and also reached out to everyone they could to establish points of contact. From there, we came together and formed a coordination committee that met through Zoom.
Can you slow down a little bit for the interpreter's sake?
Oh, yes. I apologize. I will slow down for the interpreters. Again, this was 11 different locals across 5 states, a much more difficult challenge than I would have ever guessed. So at this point, having the fundamental decisions made and as much support in place as we could have possible, the GoFundMe donations went live once again. In the end, we raised over $160,000 from donations all over the world in 5 weeks. $30,000 of that came from Bernie Sanders. Mind you, he matched that donation for the Kellogg's workers who were on strike at the same time. Through all the challenges, we successfully allocated these donations to all locals based on what we as a group felt was the best strategy, and all with complete transparency to anybody interested. It included weekly financial spreadsheets shared online with every dollar accounted for. We established a grocery voucher program for members as well as a bulk purchase food bank partnership with a local food pantry. And a group of complete strangers came together and impacted the lives of thousands of workers that were fighting the good fight, and I was one of them. I am forever grateful to have been a part of it and to use the opportunity to absorb as much as I could from amazing organizers like Lisa Chu and Nathan Pensler with UAWD. They are truly rock stars. The whole experience stoked a fire in me that I really didn't know I had. I felt compelled and driven to immediately do more. I focused on a local level coming out of ratification. There were some gaps exposed, particularly in communication, between the locals. So we were standing there in solidarity with one another, but we really didn't know what was going on. Members simply had no idea what other locals were facing. It was kind of more out of sight, out of mind. Nobody knew what their fights were like on the shop floor, what their atmosphere and their culture was like. The line of communication just wasn't something that was there. Even still, some describe the climate of our strike as the stars aligning, with the CEO's 160% salary increase, coupled with record profits year after year after year, even during a pandemic when we were deemed essential workers on the shop floor, while the majority of the salary positions worked from the safety of their homes. And not because we're out there saving lives on the front lines like our healthcare workers, but because we live in a consumer-based economy and tragically greed rules the world. There was also a growing labor shortage, levering in our favor, and we knew that as well. We knew that not only would it be next to impossible to replace the skill of 10,000 workers, they couldn't even get the bodies to stand in our place. All of this emboldened us to stand and fight for what we deserved. But I imagined the power we could hold if we just created that line of communication amongst rank and file members. Power that was to pass all of these circumstantial and temporary conditions in the moment. That became my goal after we ratified our contract and life, quote unquote, returned to normal. One thing I made clear was that I had no interest in placing blame on anyone. There wasn't simply anything to be gained by that. All I wanted to do was effect change and make our union stronger together, because there truly is power in numbers. Something else that became apparent to me, given my unique perspective, was the seemingly blind following of UAW international leadership, even if the direction was questionable. For example, the International Executive Board's decision dictated to our locals that not only attempted to stonewall the efforts from members like me, but also denied local leadership the ability to so much as help get these donations to our members, to the extent that we weren't even allowed to use our own halls. It was explained to me that this was best if all efforts were, quote unquote, handled outside the hall. It's hard to rationalize how that type of direction can be characterized as being what's best for the membership, which should always be priority number one at every level of any union leadership. Beings as it were, I knew my intentions following ratification wouldn't exactly be met with overwhelming enthusiasm, and I was right. But I also knew that there was a grassroots movement happening amongst members and supporters who shared my vision of reform, and they were really, really good at organizing. So I joined UAWD to fight and restore power to our membership. I've come to find that I get satisfaction from empowering people who have been held down by corporate greed and betrayed by entrusted leadership. Presently, we're continuing to organize and educate our members as we head into our first ever UAW International Executive Board election. Our fight isn't over. Membership selected Constitutional Convention delegates, just like me, who are rising up from within to systematically take back our union. I'll wrap it up with this. During our strike, someone asked me, how are you going to fight Deere and the UAW? Without missing a beat, I replied, I'm fighting John Deere, but I am the UAW. One last thing. Tonight at 9 o'clock, we have a UAWD meet and greet in United Room A following TDU's reception. I invite everyone to come. We also have 50 free drink tickets to anybody who wants to get served.
Dilson Hernandez is a performing artist from the Bronx. The Bronx. His talents include creative writing, playing various instruments, spoken word poetry, singing, audio engineering, and beat making. Some of his work includes facilitating music-related workshops with youth in public schools via Urban Art Beat and advocating at courtrooms for 16 to 24-year-old incarcerated youth in New York City via Youth Justice Network. So a warm Labor Notes and Great Labor Arts Exchange welcome for Dilson Hernandez.
How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? First and foremost, let's make some noise for all the organizers. Come on, come on, come on. Can we all hear that? Nereida, quiero nada contigo. La puerta que me ofreciste, tu cariño y tu abrigo. A otro, lo mío se lo entregaste, dejándome solo y triste. Nereida, me traicionaste. Siempre en este mundo viviré sin amor y sin cariño. Nereida, tengo fe que contando las estrellas quizás puedo llenar este vacío que dejó su corazón. A broken heart with no chest to call home. She emptied my wallet and took a piece of my soul. Like, whoa, the pain from being drunk and alone. I'm low, refrain from calling her drunk on the phone. I know I'm a mess when I drink, gagging up my dignity hung over the sink. I'm sick and sink into the dark abyss when I think of what I've done to my wife and kids. I ain't shit. Left my country, my kin, my pride, my blood, all 'cause this shit. Listen, she had me thinking things were different in this country where dreams sleep in bliss. Well, get me a job at least, 'cause my last name can get no pay in this país. My resume, they see Sanchez written on the sheet and believe I'm better off in they house wiping toilet seats. And this the price I pay for getting this doctorate degree. Empty pockets and now these demons are following me. 'Cause I can't walk in peace, 'cause on my way to see Nereida me reprenda la violencia of these ghetto streets. I'm trying to dodge the heat as locals come and flash their beasts. And I can't even tell if it's the gangs or the police. Lives deceased, I tell Nereida, listen please. But all she ever wants to do is get inside my jeans pa' pagar su renta. Me dio cuenta la manera embutera de esta nena traicionera. Vende patria, falsa bandera. En tus ojos no brilla el símbolo de sus estrellas. Shit, pasa la botella and the blue to blank out la memoria de su skin that's white, her eyes are blue. The red stripes on her dress are a tease to make a slave out of you. God bless Nereida. Que la pague Nereida por todo lo que me hizo. Por ella ser traicionera. cariño, Nereida, tengo fe. Que contando las estrellas, quizás puedo llenar este vacío que dejó su corazón. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Please. Thank you so much.
Sean O'Brien is a fourth-generation Teamster. Yeah. Last fall, if you haven't heard, last fall, Teamsters voted 2-1 to elect him president of their 1.2 million member union. And Sean ran on a platform of, should a union leader even have to say this, organizing members to fight their employers. He has pledged that 300,000 Teamsters will strike UPS next year. Why don't you take it away and tell them that? That's the largest private sector union employer in the U.S. And if they will strike UPS, if that's what it takes to reverse the givebacks given up by previous leadership and get rid of two-tier pay. Sean O'Brien.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I want to thank Labor Notes for the kind invitation. This is my first time here, and wow, is this an unbelievable crowd. Now, a couple of ground rules. Number one, I have zero artistic ability like my friend right here. And I'm certain that they didn't bring an interpreter from Boston to interpret how I speak. So let's get that right out of the way. So listen, I'm a fourth-generation Teamster. I've been in the Teamsters Union for 32 years. So if you do the math, I got in when I was 3 years old, right? But the reality of it, being a fourth-generation Teamster, and I'm the only one who's ever held office in the Teamsters Union, I got a great opportunity firsthand to look at what it takes to be a good trade unionist and to be a great Teamster. And I'm very proud of my background, very proud of the Teamsters Union, and I want to give a shout out to all the Teamsters in the house. And I've never been so proud of what we accomplished as Teamsters. We took over the most powerful union, most controversial union in the country, representing 1.2 million members, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the power of the rank and file being involved in your union. Now, a victory, once you win, whether it's an election, once you win an organizing drive, it does not end there. Because in an election, you make a lot of promises, you make a lot of commitments, and you have to deliver on those promises and those commitments. And you have to be true to yourself, true to your word, and true to the cause. And that cause for us is to make certain that we protect, preserve, and improve working conditions for everybody covered under our unions. The tough part for us is we don't come from rich backgrounds like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or Sergeant Schultz. Shout out to my Starbucks workers over here. Thank you for having the courage and conviction to stand up to the boss. Thank you. Now, let's get back to the Three Stooges who actually think they control this company. They were born on third base, and they actually think they hit a triple to get there. They are a disgrace when our members are clawing and scratching to provide a living so that they can put food on the table, give a better opportunity to children, give a better life, get a better life. Maybe send him to college. And this fool from Amazon who, my man, Chris Big Ball Smalls, right? Took on and was the first location organized within the entire country. But it's not about the leadership. It's about the rank and file. It's about boots on the ground. It's about putting courage and conviction. It's about the workers in Amazon. Great job at Amazon. Great job at Amazon. Now these fools that I talk about, Bezos, Musk, Sergeant Schultz, they need to be held accountable. They need to make certain that they understand we do not have the money. We may not have the power. But the one thing we have courage, conviction, intestinal fortitude to take this fight to the street. Are you ready to take this fight to the street? Now, they're not the only white-collar crime syndicate I'm going to talk about tonight. Because they are white-collar criminals. The way they treat their workers, the way they abuse some of our members. If we ever did that in the street as citizens, we would be put in jail and charged accordingly. Well, I got news for those three clowns. Because, you know, the one thing is, I see all these people in here. This is a great crowd. Very diverse crowd. It's not against black or white. It's not against left or right. It's about the power of collaboration to truly effectuate change in this country. And that change starts tonight when we mobilize. When we mobilize, we strategize, we organize, but most importantly, we pulverize. Now, we have another problem. We talked about the pandemic. You heard all about it. And everybody in here, what I would imagine is essential worker. I know the majority of my members were essential workers, and they provided goods and services to keep this country moving through our most difficult times, whether it was shipping freight, whether it was making certain grocery shelves were stocked, making certain we got all the essential needs that were wanted to survive in that pandemic. And all the while, these big corporations, these white-collar crime syndicates, their profits kept going up and our wages kept going down. And the media was focused on paying patronage to the essential workers, to the heroes. Well, we don't want to be called essential workers. We don't want to be called heroes. We want to reap what we provided. And moving forward, we are not going to accept what they give us. We are going to take and demand what we're worth. And that's only going to happen. That is only going to happen when we are walking in one direction, one vision, one mission. We're a country that once was envied because we were united as a country. We have never been so divided right now. We've got these corruptible politicians in Washington not supporting the people who built the United States, and that is the middle class. Our mission moving forward is not only do we have to hold these white-collar crime syndicates, corporate America, accountable, but we need to hold these crooked politicians who want to strip our rights away, who want to take money from these big corporations, do not want to reward our workers. Our time is now. The fight has to happen on the street. My sister, you ready to fight? Are you ready to fight? My brother, you ready to fight? Well, listen, it's simple. It is very simple moving forward. We can't do it as individuals. We've got to do it as a team. We got to make certain that when we're going out there and we're fighting for contracts like we're going to do at United Parcel Service, and we're going to make certain that we negotiate the best agreement with zero concessions. We are going to put that company on its knees if it needs to happen, and that is going to invigorate the workforce. Now look, we've got to take the fight on. We got to get grimy. We got to get gritty, right? And we've got to sacrifice. There's going to be a lot of sacrifices. And we sometimes have to be a little bit creative and a little bit powerful. And some people, like corporate America and these politicians, need to feel a little pain. They need to feel a little pain, right? And I have a motto. As a union leader, pretty much the neighborhood I grew up in, which was riddled with controversy and always disputes, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission, right? So I have a message. First off, everybody in this room, every labor organization, every rank and file member, every leader, I just want to tell you right now, Teamsters Local, 1.2 million strong, has your back and will always have your back. But I've got a message. For those white-collar crime syndicates in corporate America, for those crooked politicians that don't want to listen and respect where we're coming from, right? It's gonna get bloody. It's gonna get painful. So ice up. And secondly, when you take one of us on, you take all of us on. And I'll say this. When you come to the fight with organized labor, if you are corporate America and you want to take us on, or you're a crooked, corruptible politician, put your helmets on, buckle your chin straps. It's a full contact sport.
Michelle Eisen has been a barista at the Elmwood Avenue Starbucks. Michelle Eisen has been a barista at the Elmwood Avenue Starbucks in Buffalo, New York for 12 years. Yes, it is that Starbucks. Michelle was a leader of the organizing drive that brought the very first union to any of Starbucks's of Starbucks' 9,000 locations, and you saw what happened next. Suddenly, unions are cool in Gen Z. From Starbucks Workers United, Michelle Eisen.
I'm going to start by saying that I am far from Gen Z, but I am more than happy to fight alongside them in this movement. I started with Starbucks in 2010. I'm a production stage manager in the theater industry, and I needed a flexible part-time day job that would provide me with benefits. Enter Starbucks, a self-proclaimed progressive company that said that they cared about the environment, the community, and their workers, who they call partners. And for a time after I was hired, I believed that to be true. Fast forward to June of 2021. I, like hundreds of thousands of service workers in the US, had worked through the bulk of the pandemic, putting ourselves and our families at risk daily. And in almost all cases, the companies that we worked for completely failed us. We were called essential, but we were treated like we were disposable. And I was done. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I couldn't continue to work for a company that would so blatantly undervalue its partners. At most, I probably had a few months left in me. And then shortly after I made that decision, I received a text message from one of my fellow partners. And she asked me if I would like to get a cup of coffee after one of our shifts that week, which is weird because we literally serve coffee all day. But I agreed, and it was at that meeting that she asked me what I thought about Starbucks unionizing. To which I replied, I had never thought about it. I knew very little about organized labor, but I knew that it included very little of the service industry. But in spite of that, I asked her to tell me everything she knew, and when she finished, I calmly replied that I was interested, but I did not know how much time I was going to be able to commit. My industry was opening back up for the first time post-pandemic, and I was going to be busy with production work, but I was certainly not going to stand in their way. And then about a week after we filed our petition, I was called into my first anti-union meeting with Starbucks corporate. And we sat in a circle in a hotel conference room and listened to Ross Ann Williams, the president of Starbucks North America, at least until today when she tendered her resignation. I feel completely comfortable in speaking for my fellow partners when I say we are more than happy to take full credit for that resignation. But in that meeting, we listened to her tell us that we are all partners and that the company has already done so much for all of us. And what more could we possibly be asking for? And I saw the looks on the faces of my coworkers as we were being bullied and manipulated into voting against our best interests. And that was the moment that I realized that I could not take a passive role in this fight. That not actively working against my coworkers was not the same as standing with them. They concluded this meeting by giving us the facts, and that if we needed more information about the union, we should contact one of our union reps. And so with my heart pounding, I raised my hand and I said, I'm a partner organizer, and I would be happy to answer any questions anybody might have about the union. And there was no turning back from there. And on December 9th, 2021, we won the first Starbucks union in the US. And with that, our campaign became a movement. As of today, there are 160 unionized Starbucks in the country, with more joining that every single day. Just for reference, a little over 6 months ago, there were 0 unionized Starbucks in the US. Now, I'm often told that our campaign is different, that it is not like campaigns of the past. And I think there are aspects of that that are true. But I think it's more accurate to say that what Starbucks workers are doing is an extension of what worker organizers throughout US labor history have already done. Now, we have successfully harnessed social media and video platforms to talk to and connect with workers across the country and the globe, and those have been unbelievable tools for our campaign. But I think the most important lesson of our success is that the basic essentials of organizing remain the same as they have for 100 years. Our movement is rooted in our ability to connect with one another on a human level, through our shared experiences and our workplaces and our industry. And it is using those tools that have been refined from earlier organizing efforts that we have been able to create a movement that is largely worker-led. We refer to them as partner organizers, which is basically just means a worker from an organized store reaching out and connecting with a worker and helping them organize their store. We also take larger roles in other aspects of the campaign, such as communication, media, and broader strategy questions. I mentioned earlier that I didn't know much about organizing before this campaign, but I did know that it included very little of the service industry. And I think that's in large part because it has long been thought to be an industry that is unorganizable for a multitude of reasons. It takes an immense amount of support to take on a campaign like ours, especially when you're going up against a company like Starbucks, and many unions would think that too big a risk to take. Fortunately for us, Workers United was willing to take on that challenge. We are very lucky to have formed such a collaborative relationship with a union as established as Workers United. Not only is our worker-led movement supported, but it is encouraged and even celebrated by both staff and our fellow union members who have committed $1 million of their dues to a strike and relief fund for our Starbucks campaign. I cannot think of a more fitting example of solidarity. There is a very pervasive way of thinking that's drilled into most service workers. That is that our jobs are unskilled, that we don't deserve fair wages or safe working conditions, and that disrespect is just to be expected on the regular, and if we don't like it, we can work somewhere else. Ask anybody who has ever worked on a floor in one of these cafes, our jobs are far from unskilled. Our labor is valuable. We bring in billions of dollars a year for Starbucks. And without our labor, the business would simply cease to exist. So I hope this movement is a step in the direction of changing that way of thinking. Our asks are simple. Listen to our voices when it comes to working conditions, pay us fairly, and invest in our future with the company, because we are Starbucks. So that brings us to the final step, right? How do we win this fight? How do we get a contract? We need to continue to support our fellow workers. We need to continue to organize. We need to stand together and condemn Starbucks' anti-union behavior, and we need to ask the public to do the same. We have a pledge going around, if you could all sign that. It is no coffee, no contract, no coffee. Help us build our solidarity and support our movement. Because we're not only fighting Starbucks, we're fighting the public brand of Starbucks. And if Starbucks was the progressive company that it claimed it would be, it would recognize our rights to organize and be a leader in the industry. So I think the overall message here is that I have hope that that will happen at some point, because if there's any example of what this movement and the overall labor movement in the country is right now, it's that it's hopeful. So we will stand together and we will continue to fight together. Thank you.
When Amazon fired Chris Smalls for organizing his coworkers to demand COVID safety in 2020, Jeff Bezos didn't know the train of events he was setting in motion. Organizing on their own, without a national union behind them, just their own instincts, homemade food giveaways, and a GoFundMe, Chris and his fellow members of the Amazon Labor Union on Staten Island pulled off a victory over Bezos that nobody but themselves was predicting. How many people here felt invigorated for your own organizing by the first union victory at Amazon? Chris Smalls, president of the Amazon Labor Union.
This is my first labor notes. Y'all gotta give me some energy. My first labor notes, y'all gotta give me up. Give it up, give it up. Labor in the house. The union in the house. Workers in the house. What you talking about? Thank you, thank you. Labor in the house. The union in the house. Workers in the house. That's what I'm talking about, my first labor notes, and I want to thank you all for bringing the ALU out here. This is our first one together as a union, because in the first time on April 1st, 2021, in 28 years of Amazon existence, we won the first union in American history. And they gotta recognize, we won. That's right, solidarity with the ALU, ALU. Where my ALU at? They in here? My ALU in the building? I see you. I see you. And, you know, I could give a speech, but this is more of a call to action. I think this is a call to action right now. That's the vibe I'm feeling here at Labor Notes. And, yeah, Jeff Bezos, they messed up when they fired me. I want to take this time to connect everybody. We should have a moment of silence. We don't do that often. It's important that we stay connected spiritually as well, because that's what's gotten me here. I know as an organizer, we all sleep deprived. You better be. If you ain't sleep deprived, you ain't doing nothing. That's a fact. So let's take a moment of silence for those who lost their lives in the pandemic, those who lost their lives to gun violence, police brutality, the war, abortion rights, everything. You can go on and on. Let's do that for 10 seconds. Solidarity, y'all. Thank you. Now I want y'all look to your left, look to your right. Say, I got your back. I got your back. I got your back. I got your back. Damn right. Let me tell you something. So I got a lot to talk about. I know I got 8 minutes, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Right now, as we speak, we're in day 5 of probably the most important court hearing in the country as regards to labor right now. And I'm talking about the Amazon labor union versus Amazon.com. We're in court right now. We're on day 5. And the first day I jumped on the call, there was only 100 people on the call in the entire country. Labor, I'm talking to y'all. Y'all support us, right? Y'all were inspired by the win, hopefully. And like Sean said, just because we won the election, the work is not over. We just getting started. Just getting started. So I need everybody. Hold on. I need everybody. You claim to be in solidarity with workers. You claim to be in the labor movement. You stand with us. One you, injury to all, right? We need everybody on Monday. Log on to that Zoom link and attend that court hearing, because it's from Monday until whenever the hell, because Amazon does not want to recognize that we beat them on April 1st. They filed 25 objections, making up all types of shit. We giving out weed for votes. We giving out this, that, and the third. Yeah, we socialize. Of course we did. It's legal. But guess what? We won. We beat them by over 500 ballots. The workers that are here in this room from Staten Island, they here. Pat's one of them right here in front. He flipped 500 people. They fired him. Don't clap yet. Don't clap yet. Because they just fired him. They just fired him after learning. So this is what we're up against. When we let up off the gas, when we come down off our high horse, when we get in tune or we get distracted by other things that's going on, they pounce on us. They divide us. They shut shit down. They destroy our movements. That's right. That's why I'm wearing this now. Got to remind them every day. We got to stay together. The labor movement. It's not just the Amazon labor union. It's not just Chris Smalls and what am I doing. I don't care where I'm at. If I'm at the White House, I don't give a damn if I'm at Times 100. I don't care if I'm on Trevor Noah. I don't care if I'm on 60 Minutes, Dr. Phil. I don't give a damn about none of that. Because guess what? I'm here with y'all. It's a fact. So on Monday, Call to action, the labor notes, my first labor notes, by the way. Call to action. I need everybody. Take a couple minutes. The trial's from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's been like this for the last 5 days. Guess what? I can't even attend it. Their lawyers got us removed. The union that won, we can't even attend our own court hearing. This is the money and power we're up against. This is the corruption we're up against. So if we can't be there, we need our comrades, our brothers and sisters to be there for us. Now don't tell me y'all not familiar with Zoom, because y'all all have been on a Zoom call. I've been on with some of y'all, majority of y'all. I've been on Zoom calls with you. So I need y'all to log on one more time. We gonna share the link. We gonna share the password. And at 10 a.m., I don't want to see 100 people. I want my lawyer to text me and say 4,000 people showed up on that Zoom call. It's that simple. And not just Monday, the day after, the day after that, the day after that, the week after that, the month after that, until we win this court hearing. And we're certified. Because let me tell y'all something. What y'all think will happen to the labor movement if Amazon workers win a contract? Are y'all serious right now? If we fight for this contract, and I'm not talking about no $15. We passed $15. We want 30. We want 30. We win a contract. We win a contract. Guess how much better the other contracts in this country is going to be? Starbucks workers, they need a contract. The Newsgirl workers, they need a new contract. The Teamsters, they need a new contract. Everybody want a new contract. Well, I'm telling y'all this. Help us get one first. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. If we win a contract at Amazon, Apple, Google, Starbucks, Walmart, Dollar General, domino effect. You heard them. It's over for them. It's a wrap. Understand the importance that we're in, the time that we're in right now. You know, understand this window of opportunity is going to close. 2024 is right around the corner. We don't even know who the hell we voting for yet. Right? Chill. Well, look. Hey, look, even if Bernie get up in there, you already know we going his neck. Bernie, you at least. It is what it is. That's my guy. Correction. That's what I'm talking about, Treasurer. He told me that the hearing's on Tuesday. So Tuesday, because Monday is supposed to be Tuesday. That's what our union do. You know what? Monday, because it's a holiday, right? Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Juneteenth, right? Well, guess what? Amazon is not recognizing it as a paid holiday. Y'all saw my tweet, right? They want us to wear silly socks and dress up and flip. Ooh, can I curse? Woo! Listen, we have to call everything out as a movement. We cannot just watch and observe and tweet. Join these movements. Get involved. Reach out. Whatever y'all need from us, y'all know we have the capacity. We're there for you. I'm traveling the country because it's a hot labor summer tour for real. It's a hot labor summer tour for real. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. So, you know, I could go on and on and on. And, you know, labor notes, these conferences, these are great. But as I mentioned in my last panel, what if we all just walk to an Amazon warehouse right now? You imagine? You imagine how that'd be? Y'all, the power right here, the people power. That's all it took to beat this corporation. It wasn't money. It wasn't resources. It was us. It was love. It was connections. It was trust. Yes, it was relationships. It was sacrifice. I slept at a bus stop for 11 months talking to workers. It's sacrifice. Sacrifice. So, you know, I just want to end off with this. If we don't get it, 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 one more time, we don't get it. You damn. One more. I got one more for y'all. One more. Cause I gotta do this one. I'm doing this one because this is the largest crowd I've been in a minute, and I love the energy in here. So if you've been in my rallies, you know what I'm about to say. Billionaires, they got it. Repeat after me. Billionaires, they gotta go. Billionaires, they gotta go. Billionaires, they gotta go. Billionaires, they gotta go. Fuck Jeff Bezos. Fuck Jeff Bezos. Fuck Jeff Bezos. Fuck Jeff Bezos. God damn. Hold on. I love this. I'm having fun. Now, Jeff Bezos said he has 3 thoughts a day. Guess what? One of them thoughts is us right here. Solidarity, y'all. Power people.
And now, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Okay. You look great. And there are a lot of you. And together, you're going to transform this country. Let me begin by thanking all of our speakers, Chris and Sean and Sarah and everybody else. Let me thank all of you for being here, because I know that many of you are in the forefront of the grassroots activism that we need to transform this country. So thank you for what you're doing. And let me thank Labor Notes, who year after year have been standing up for working families from one end of this country to the other. Labor Notes, thank you. If you could hold this. What I want to do is to give you a brief look at where I think we are today. And the bad news is, and it's something that you are all familiar with, and that is that today our economic and political system is working great if you are a billionaire. It ain't working so great if you are working for a living. In fact, many of our working people are falling further and further behind. Today, we have in our nation, and what I'm telling you is you know, but many Americans don't know because the corporate media ain't telling them for obvious reasons. But you know that we have more income and wealth inequality today than at any time in the history of our country. We have more concentration of ownership than at any time in the history of our country. We have more corporate greed than at any time in the history of our country. And we have a political system that more than ever is dominated by super PACs and the billionaires who fund them in both political parties. That is the economic and political reality of our time, and that is the reality which, for the sake of working families across this country and for future generations, together we must and will change. Now, CBS and NBC and the New York Times and Fox aren't going to tell you about corporate greed, so let me do it for them. Corporate greed is when two people, Mr. Musk and Mr. Bezos, that's right, own more wealth than the bottom 42% of our population. Corporate greed is when 1% own more wealth than the bottom 92%. And I'll really tell you what corporate greed is about. We are going through a terrible, terrible pandemic. We all know that. It has taken over 1 million lives in our country. So many people have become sick, have long COVID, etc. And during this period, when working people went out to work to keep the economy going, when 5,000 nurses died taking care of us, when grocery store workers and bus drivers and people in warehouses and people in factories died to keep the economy going, 700 billionaires increased their wealth during the pandemic by $2 trillion. That's corporate greed. That's right. Corporate greed is today about CEOs of major corporations making $350 50 times what their workers are making. Corporate greed is about, during the terrible war in Ukraine, during the breakdown of supply chains, large corporation after large corporation has been raising prices substantially as their profits are soaring. Corporate greed is about a rigged and corrupt tax system in which in a given year, billionaires do not pay a nickel in federal income tax. And when we talk, that is right, criminal is the right word. And when we talk about concentration of ownership, I want all of you to appreciate this. Today, in this country, there are three Wall Street firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, that control assets of over $20 trillion, which is equivalent to the GDP of the United States of America. 3 Wall Street firms control hundreds and hundreds of corporations all over our country and around the world. That's right, part of it. And when we talk about corporate greed, we're talking about drug companies raising their prices, while 1 out of 4 Americans cannot afford the prescription drugs their doctors prescribe. And let me give you an example. I mean, it is so out of control that it really, literally is hard to believe. I'll give you an example. The CEO of Moderna recently received, got this, a $926 million golden parachute. Now, can you believe it? We are fighting and struggling to make sure that our people are vaccinated in this country and around the world. Federal government puts $2.5 billion into Moderna to develop a vaccine, and this guy walks away above and beyond his other stock with over $900 million in golden parachute. That is how corrupt and criminal the system is. Now, that's what corporate greed is doing to consumers. Let me say a word about what it is doing to workers. During the last several years, my office has been involved in many, many strikes around this country. We stood with the UAW, who went on strike in Iowa, Illinois, and Kansas. We stood with the United Steelworkers, who went on strike at Special Metals in West Virginia. We stood with bakery workers who went on strike at Kellogg's and Nabisco. We continue to stand with the United Mine Workers, who are still on strike at Warrior Met. And we stood with UFCW, who did a tremendous job taking on Kroger grocery stores in Colorado. And here is what I learned that I really did not fully appreciate before we got involved, and that is that in every instance of these strikes and many others, these strikes were provoked by corporations owned by large conglomerates who were making huge profits. This is not a moment when a company goes to Sean and say, look, you know, we're falling apart, our revenue is down, we need to sit down and talk. These are companies today that are making huge profits. And then they go huge, that's the word. And then they go to their workers and they say, we want you to take meager pay raises and we want to make massive cuts to your health care benefits. Just today, I visited with striking UAW workers in Racine, Wisconsin, and Burlington, Iowa. They are striking against a company, Case New Holland Industrial, that is owned by Exor, a Dutch holding company, which in turn is owned by the Agnelli family, one of the richest families in Italy, worth some $19 billion. And this is what we're talking about when we talk about corporate greed. This company is enjoying record-breaking profits, and now they are going to their workers, demanding massive cutbacks in health care, including a $13,000 deductible for family health care, which is basically meaning no health care at all. Now, the wealth and the power and the greed of the corporate elite is the bad news, but here is some very good news, and I know that it is news that you have been hearing all day. And that is what we are seeing in a way that we have not seen for many years is not only workers standing up and fighting back by going on strike, but a level of organizing effort that we have not seen for a long, long time. We are seeing workers taking on billionaires and telling them they ain't gonna get away with their greed anymore. And that's the case at Amazon. Chris and his allies are taking on the second wealthiest guy. And the folks at Starbucks are taking on another billionaire, Howard Schultz. But I want you to know it's not just blue-collar workers, it's white-collar workers as well. We're seeing people organize, the adjunct faculty at MIT. In my city and in other large hospitals around this country, resident doctors, young doctors, often with enormous student debt, have voted overwhelmingly to form unions because they don't want to work 80 hours a week for $60,000 a year. Furthermore, maybe most importantly, you know, I know that the corporate media and the mainstream politicians say that those of us in this room are radical, we're unrealistic. But the truth of the matter is, in many senses, they are the people who are extreme, not us. So I want you to know that poll after poll shows that on every major issue that we are fighting for, the American people, in some cases, overwhelmingly are with us and our agenda. The American people understand that health care is a human right. They want Medicare for all. The American people want us to take on pharma and cut prescription drug prices in half. The American people are demanding that Congress act to make sure the wealthiest people in this country start paying their fair share of taxes. They want us to address the crisis in child care and in pre-K. They want to build the millions of units of affordable housing we desperately need. They want us to cancel student debt and make public colleges and universities tuition-free. They want us to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, more than $15 an hour. And they want us to create millions of jobs, transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel and helping to save this planet for future generations. In other words, the American people are telling us that they want a government that represents everybody and not just billionaire campaign contributors. The last point that I want to make is that the time is long overdue for us to take on and challenge the uber-capitalist culture of today. You know, hundreds of thousands of people have criminal records in this country today for the quote-unquote crime of smoking marijuana. Yes, we will legalize it. But, and this is what I mean about our current culture. Smoking marijuana in a number of states today is illegal, but I'll tell you what's not illegal. It is not illegal for the heads of major oil and coal companies who knew 40 years ago that their product was helping to destroy the planet. And what they did with that information is to fund organizations who lied about the reality of climate change. It is not illegal for the heads of drug companies to raise prices so that millions of people cannot afford the medicine they desperately need, and some of them die. That's not illegal. There was a study that came out today from Yale, and the estimate is that 338,000 people died during the pandemic unnecessarily because we do not have Medicare for all. Over 300,000 people, but it is not criminal for those people to spend huge amounts of money continuing the corrupt and dysfunctional healthcare system that we have. So, brothers and sisters, we are in truly a pivotal moment in American history. And our job is to bring the working class together. Black and white, Asian American, Native American, gay and straight, Our job is to bring our people together. Around an agenda that says we are going to put an end to this outrageous level of corporate greed. And in fact, we are going to provide the working families with the respect, the dignity, and the security that they deserve. Thank you all very